Hi, I'm Shawnee. This is my husband, Mike, and we own a house in Coronado, largely thanks to Jamie Tuckey. I somehow got signed up for Jamie's email list, and it is very thorough and personalized and unique. It is not a typical real estate agent's email that is, spam that gets deleted. Like every time I read Jamie's email, and I thought, wow, this guy's interesting and different than other agents that are working out there.
We reached out to Jamie, not having met with him before, talked with him, and he offered to meet with me. And I had no specifics about when I was moving, when we were moving to San Diego, no specifics about what kind of house we wanted or anything like that, other than just we were really interested in Coronado. Never thought it could actually happen, but very interested in doing that and trying to make it happen. And one thing that I was really impressed about by Jamie was there wasn't a sense of, well, come back and talk to me when you're really serious, or come back and talk to me when you're ready to buy a house. I did meet with a couple other realtors that same weekend, and I definitely got a very different vibe from them.
It was never too much. It was never an email or a call that I didn't want to see. It was just the right amount of follow-up, and we really appreciated that.
And then finally, we got a job in San Diego. And we were able to start thinking about actually buying a house here. We still owned a house in Austin, and we didn't have the funds to buy a house while owning a house in Austin. And we were in Austin, and we had 4 kids.
And it was in the middle of a pandemic.
And it was in a pandemic, and it was crazy. And Jamie helped us navigate all of that. There were a lot of moving pieces, a lot going on, and he both kept us focused, but also didn't overwhelm us, which was helpful.
One thing that Jamie did that really blew me away was that he hand-selected properties all up the coast, from Coronado all the way up to North County, that he knew we would like, and they were really unique and quirky and interesting and appropriate for a large family, and had good school districts. And we've worked with other realtors before, and I have never gotten anything from another realtor than MLS search results based on, tell me this neighborhood or that neighborhood. And Jamie hand-selected properties for us. In this competitive market, to get a realtor that gives you that kind of personalized experience is just tremendously valuable and appreciated. I would say with a 90% hit rate, the houses he showed us could have worked for our family and were houses that got us excited. When we finally decided that we wanted to try and be in Coronado, that was something that felt really good for our family, but it was scary too because the inventory just wasn't there. And instead of saying, sorry guys, you're out of luck, there's no houses there, you guys need to look elsewhere, which is what any reasonable realtor who, would do, Jamie hit the ground, started calling old clients of his, started calling people he knows, trying to see if they might be open to moving. He really was trying to find a needle in a haystack for us.
But I never once felt pressured to actually buy a house and close on it right away. It's a commission-based business, and so you often can get the pressure to close as quickly as possible on one of the first houses you see, and we never felt that.
He had a process of narrowing down what we wanted and what we liked, and he asked us to give him feedback in specific ways, and he was taking all that feedback we gave him, and he was changing his personalized searches. For example, we found one house in Coronado that was in our price range, but it didn't have 6 chairs at the table in one of the main pictures, which is so silly, but we have 6 people in our family, and I just almost broke down, and I was like, well, I want to live there so bad, but I can't live in a place where my kids where we can't all eat dinner together. And I never saw a house with that square footage ever again. I just mentioned that. I didn't have to make a big deal about it. Jamie heard me, he was listening, and he cared. Once we identified this house that we really liked, it had already had an offer and a backup accepted on it. And Jamie just kind of basically said, there's no way, give up on that. But then, lo and behold, those both fell through. And instead of waiting till the next business day, Jamie called me at 10 p.m. and was like, your house, it's available. And I was so excited. I know. And I was just so grateful that he was willing to do that. And again, it really spoke to his passion and willingness to put the time and work in. That's not something that, you know, I would expect from anyone in any profession, and yet he did it, and we were able to get an offer in the next morning. So that made a big difference.
He put time into figuring out what's the right way to make the offer, not necessarily the number, but how to convey the offer itself. And so that was part of that has to do with the fact that we were making a contingency offer on a sale in Austin. But Jamie talked to our realtor in Austin and understood that the Austin real estate market was red hot and that should not be an issue, and did a good job conveying that to the other side so that they felt comfortable accepting the offer as well. And he did all of this while we were in Austin. And so when we wanted to look at the house, you know, Jamie showed up and walked us around with his phone and let us, you know, watch by FaceTime. Jamie did a lot of things that he didn't have to do, but that he did because we were in Austin. You know, he was our boots on the ground, and we appreciated that very much.
In order to make our dream of coming to Coronado happen, we needed to sell our house in Austin, and we needed to sell it fast. And that meant that we needed to have our realtor there and our Jamie work together. And Jamie really took a leadership role in that relationship and positioned the offer we ended up making with a contingency as a positive, because he took the time to understand the sellers and know that they were really looking for a family who's going to love that house and live in it for a long time, and that it wasn't just a developer, and that was important to them. And so he explained to them, you know, why we were in the situation we were in. And I think that really helped a lot. I think it made a big difference in our offer being accepted. And it was a complicated deal. Like we had the contingency that, you know, there was a trust, selling the house, just a lot of, we didn't have cash, we would finance it. It was a lot of complications, and Jamie navigated all of those really well. We trusted Jamie so much that we actually made an offer and signed a contract on a house that we had never physically walked through. And mostly because of the pandemic, we just couldn't get here. And I can't imagine doing that with any other agent. I can't imagine doing it with someone that I didn't trust. I just wouldn't do it. But I felt totally comfortable signing a contract on a house I'd never been in because I trusted Jamie so much. And I think it says a lot about him that once we had been through the house and we did get to know more about it, there were no surprises. Like, everything Jamie said was a problem, and everything that Jamie said was fine. And, you know, if you know what you're getting into, then that's all you really can ask.
Jamie helped us put together meetings with a couple of builders. He sat in the house with us for several hours while we had a bunch of meetings, talked with us about what we thought about the house, the pros and the cons, the issues that we may face.
I mean, to be honest, like we're coming from Texas, we're just like, things are bigger, the lots are bigger, and it's hard to downsize when you come here. And we managed to luck into a place that has room for a trampoline. Like, honestly, I hardly needed to see the inside of the house. Like, we have a yard for a trampoline, and I was just like, Jamie, like, this is what I want for my kids. I can be where I want to be, and they can have a life that is somewhat like the life that they're used to. And I just really appreciate Jamie saw that, but then also made us aware that not only was that a thing that we wanted, but it was a smart financial investment too, because since it's a double lot, if we ever needed to separate it, we could. And that really makes us feel safe financially, even though I hope I'm living in our home until I'm 90. I hope I live in 353 up until I die.
A lot of the people we needed to come look at the house, Jamie gave us recommendations on people to do that. They all proved to be highly qualified, and they did a great job and gave us a really good sense of what was going on with the house that we were interested in buying. So we were able to buy the house with our eyes wide open. And Jamie went out to the house every time, and one of those inspectors came out and was more than happy to do that. and we appreciated that a lot, and we frankly could not have bought the house from Austin without his help.
We couldn't have bought the house with most realtors because most realtors don't offer the kind of personalized relationship that Jamie does.
When you're in the real estate process, it can feel like you're a part of a big machine, or that you're in a realtor factory, and that there's not personalized attention, or that there are so many that, to deal with your needs or your interests, somebody has to squeeze in a little bit of time to do that. We never once felt that with Jamie. In fact, it felt like the opposite. It felt like we were his only client. And anytime we had questions or concerns or just wanted to talk things through, he was available to do that.
I grew up snowboarding, and our family hikes and camps a lot, and Jamie is an outdoorsman. And I remember one time while we were waiting to hear back from the sellers on an offer, he's like, I'm gonna go ice climbing today, but if you need me, you can reach me. And I was like, how does he do this? And it just kept me excited about moving back to this place where we can be outside doing the things we love to do with our kids. I appreciated that he opened up his life and what he was doing and told us about his kids, and he wasn't afraid to become our friend. We always felt like he was professional, but also a friend, and that's kind of a hard line to balance. And yeah, whether he likes it or not, he's stuck with us because
One thing that I appreciated during the process, between work and raising a bunch of kids and everything going on, was how organized Jamie was during the inspection period. For example, he created a Google document that had all of the different tradespeople that came out, what they found, what that might mean with respect to a counteroffer that we would make as a result of things that we found, and then even would link the report itself. Sometimes when I wouldn't have any idea what was going on, which was not Jamie's fault, that was my fault, I would go onto that document and I would right away know where we stood, what was going on, and what had been found. And having that level of organization, during the hectic times of a real estate deal is very, very helpful. And Jamie was organized even in the closing process. I was thinking about the closing process, and I remember that I don't remember doing much during that process, which tells me that Jamie handled a lot of stuff. It went from our perspective, despite, again, being in Austin during that time, and the fact that it was mere days after we closed on the sale of our Austin home, the process went smoothly. We had all the information we needed. All of the people that Jamie put us in touch with to work with during that process were great, and it couldn't have gone any better.
There was not a time when we asked Jamie something that he hadn't already thought about it. I, would say, what about this? And Jamie would be like, oh, it's right there in the Google Doc. and it just really de-escalated what is and could be an incredibly stressful process. That was such a gift. Mm-hmm.
Jamie was a true fiduciary during this process, in the sense that we felt like throughout this process that he was looking after our interests. He wanted us to have the house that we wanted based on all the information we could possibly get at the time. The goal was not for Jamie to close a deal as quickly as possible so that he could make the most money. The goal was for us as a family to be able to buy the house that we wanted for a price that we thought was fair, and to do that with our eyes open. That gave us comfort that we were making the right decision. It gave us comfort that we were working with the right realtor. And it was something that meant a lot to us because, to be quite frank, we hadn't always felt that way at the end of our real estate transactions prior to this one and prior to working with Jamie.
I think someone should work with Jamie if they're looking for someone who has hustle, someone who shows up, someone who cares. When you work with Jamie, you get a much more personalized experience than you get with 99% of other realtors. He's trustworthy, he's hardworking, Mike said boots to the ground earlier, which I think is a good way to say it. He is creative. That's one thing that I remember just was so impressed by. When it seemed like there wasn't anything available for us, Jamie materialized things that weren't options for the rest of the general public, which is invaluable in a crazy market. It's the only way that you'll get a house, and those are things that he brings to the table.
Jamie is the right choice for you for a realtor. If you want to work with someone who's trustworthy, will put the time in, make the process as fun as it possibly can be, and lead you to a place where you make a decision that you feel good about for your family, and you feel like you are doing so with your eyes wide open, knowing both the market and the property itself that you're buying. If you want all those things, Jamie's a great fit.